I really felt called. I've got a lot of notes here that I want to share with you, because a lot of wisdom that's come through in what we're going through, the energies that we're experiencing right now, and some guidance around how to move forward. And so I want to come on and talk about this transformational kind of cycle that we're in, letting go, rebirthing, and also calling in the new, stepping into the new. And I do talk about this a lot, but I was reminded today that even if we're moving through similar cycles, like our story over and over, there's always deeper levels to it. We're never ever circling around it at the same place. Healing is a spiral, and we're spiraling. Okay, so there's no such thing as going backwards. We're either spiraling upwards, which is going deeper. So we either spiral deeper to transcend it, or we spiral upwards to transcend it. So know that your healing is a spiral. Okay, that's the first thing I want to share. The thing that, especially in this week, around communication, so that's everything. So there's been a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, a lot of change that has happened in the last few months, or this whole entire year, really. And so what is really important now, because we're shifting into a kind of clearer energy, there's this space that we're moving into, it's time to talk, it's time to communicate. So really knowing where you're at, what's bothering you, where are you going? What's your plan now? What's your future vision, right? So really talk it out of your mind, say it how it is, and talk with total transparency and honesty, okay? Because we need to work through some things, and this is about finding solutions, not problems, to move forward. Not talking about our problems anymore, not talking about the problems of the world anymore. It's really being in the solution kind of mindset, okay? And it's all about understanding, having balance, and being compassionate. This is going to require us to see the bigger picture and to see anything that's happening outside of us from all angles of the picture. We don't shame anyone. None of that. We must step up now. It's time for us to really step up now. And we can have it all. We can find new ways, but we need to evolve. And so this is the period that we're in. We're in this kind of transformational phase. Okay, so it's really important that we're able to share and to talk about it. And the energy I feel that we're in at the moment also reminds me of what we went through end of 2018. And so this was the metaphor around transformation, okay, and the butterfly. Right? So the caterpillar that needs to go or let go of aspects of our self entity or our identity, who we know ourselves to be. And then we come into this cocoon and it dissolves itself, and we come into this sacred nothingness, this in-between, that nothingness, right? In preparation to be born into a higher, brighter, more authentic version of itself. So that's literally what we're going through right now. This is the energies that we're going through. If you come on, just let me know you're here so I know that you're joining me. But there is deep transformation happening within us as a collective. And the process of inner transformation is a big one. And I know I talk about this a lot, but that's what's coming up. So every time we move through, it involves a shedding and a letting go of some elements of ourselves in order to make room and space and step into a more aligned next level version of ourselves. Good morning, Carola. Thank you for joining me, honey. So I'm talking about the energies that we are in right now, and it's really centered around inner transformation, rebirthing, healing our past, really unresolved stuff, our mother wound, our father wound, and really reclaiming our power. That's the energy we're in right now. And so we're, in a sense, always grieving, because every time we're letting go of aspects of ourselves, every time we're letting go of anything that we've attached our identity to, this is a shedding, this is a letting go, and this is the grieving kind of process. So in a sense, we're always grieving. And we so often are moving through these cycles, but we've got big endings and big letting go of aspects of ourselves, and we need to let that aspect of ourselves go. We can't hold on to that old side of us anymore. We can't take that with us to where we want to go. Does that make sense? So the mindset, everything that got you here cannot get you to your next level. And so everything right now that we're going through is really, it has been a real shedding. And what's challenging about the energy that we're in right now is the deep stuff that's coming up in all the space that we need to create around it. So it's not just surface stuff like procrastination or negative self-talk. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about deep core stuff, right? I'm talking about stuff from our childhood. I'm talking about our story. And so as it relates to our relationships, so this is one area it might be coming up, whether it's romantic, sibling, parent, child, colleague, there's big triggers that are happening right now. And so people are serving as mirrors and people are triggering stuff to the surface, right? And that's what needs to be healed and resolved within us. And this is coming down to our story, to our unresolved stuff from childhood. And there is an intensity to it at the moment. So every day there is another thing to witness in ourselves. And if you haven't noticed it, you'll start to notice it. So if you're getting triggered around anything right now, and if there's big stuff coming up, and when I say triggered, there's this like big emotional stuff happening, whether it's anger, sadness, hurt, fear of abandonment, rejection, betrayal, trust wounds coming up, right? A whole heap of things that can get triggered and come up. I want to encourage you to dig a lot deeper. We must have the courage to face them. We take 100% responsibility for what's coming up, and we do our best to avoid any projection and blame. So we allow them to come up and we feel. And so I get a lot of this question, like, how do we let go of some of this stuff? Well, you are letting go of it. It gets activated and it rises in you and you're letting go of it simultaneously. That's the beauty of the process, is you getting the insights, you getting the learnings, you releasing that emotion, releasing those aspects of yourself. Okay, so just let me know if you're being triggered, if situations, if people, if anything around, like maybe colleague or parent or siblings or anything that's brought up stuff within you. That's a really good sign. This is the energy we're in, and it's a time for you to face and heal that. Okay, and if you can dig deeper, a lot of what is coming up right now is our core wounds. That's the childhood stuff. That's our story. So patternings, woundings, our belief system, this is what we've had for a very long time. You know this, you know your story, you know what it's around, okay? And if you are a woman, this is for you. This will be coming up around your father relationship, okay? So the childhood work essentially is where it's at the moment. And yes, it's heavy, and yes, it's intense, but what is meant to rise as part of our process in our next level iteration of ourselves, okay? Particularly big healing around our feminine and our heart energy at the moment. And so I've done a lot of healing with a lot of my clients around the heart, because that's where a lot of the blockages are. And so if you're a woman who's watching this, I want you to witness where you're not and where you haven't been living fully in your power, where you're not feeling fully safe to be in your feminine, right? To be fully safe to be you, who you truly are. And particularly where you're not letting the full radiance of your feminine to rise in you. So you might feel feminine, you might have all of that, you might be really centered in your feminine, but then when it comes to shining that and sharing that, you're still wearing the masculine mask. And this is the mask of protection. So even for men, so Ron, even for you, Andrew, even for you, so there's still that armor, that mask of protection, this armor around us that doesn't allow people to feel this juicy heart energy we're embodying and creating within us, okay? So right now, there's a big rising of the feminine, and there's a deep embodiment, like our softness, our vulnerability, our power. Also, our power is a really big one, where you're giving your power away. It's time to take that back, okay? So deep self-honoring, deeply honoring your truth, your boundaries, standing up for yourself in any given situation, and looking at where you're giving your power away. So if you're not being fully in your power and you're allowing others to have power over you, or you're wanting to people please, or you're not wanting to rock the boat out of fear of upsetting somebody, or you're not wanting to speak up because it's a difficult conversation to have, or maybe you're not wanting to be your true self out of fear of losing love. Okay, so this is what's needing to be faced. Just have a look at that, see if that's coming up for you. And this stuff is the core patterning. So we're preparing energetically as well, but we're preparing for something big. And we have to clear all of this out. We need to be anchored in our heart. We need to be connected to our beautiful, radiant feminine. And if you're a woman and is watching this, be 100% anchored in your power and be guided by your intuition as well. Okay? Okay, so it's clearing all of this that has been in the way too long, that has been preventing you to be fully aligned and connected with that. Okay, so that's why it's really important for us to feel all that emotion. It's important that we trust our body's process. Our body knows what it's doing, and we need to allow whatever needs to come up to move through and be released. Your body is so intelligent. Let it be there. Good morning, Katrina. Hope you're well, honey. Okay, so there is much feeling, much expression at the moment. Whatever you need to share, the invitation here is to show up and share it. Ask for help, ask for people to hold space so that you can express what you want and what your needs are. Put words to your inner experience, share that. Be vulnerable in that. Vulnerability is your superpower, own that now, okay? And I'm saying all of this because my tendency when I move through deep inner shifts and through deep next level stuff, which I think is safe to say we're all going through this next level stuff. So my own tendency is to isolate and keep to myself, right? That's what I notice in myself. That's my old patterning. And so the question that we need to ask, if that's you too, it's really asking, does this serve me right now? Is this supporting me to be the person I want to be in my life? And when I allow myself, and every time I notice, I allow myself to express what is rising up for me, every time I actually show up in my vulnerability, every time I express and have that expression of what that is, no matter what it is, the healing, the freedom that comes from that, showing up in that way, my realness, allowing my heart to shine, just showing that to the world, and I get witnessed, I rise even more. So that is actually the answer. And as scary as this sounds, because that's where it's coming, the wound that's coming from, like, oh my God, what if I get rejected or judged or all of those things? That's what needs to be healed in order for you to do that. And sometimes it's not waiting for you to be healed, it's doing it. And in the doing, you'll heal it. Does that make sense? So just let me know if you're on the same page as me. That's the invitation. Please show up in your full vulnerability. This is the process of transformation. Becoming aware of your old tendencies that are out of alignment with who you are, who you want to be in your next level, right? And moving forward in a different way. Just make note of that, okay? All change starts with who you are being. This is the biggest thing I can tell you right now, okay? So all change starts with who you are being, not what you're doing. So in your energy, in your mindset, in your self-talk, in your emotions, in your behavior, in who you're being, you shift at that level first. And then from that shift of being, you're inspired into new action. That state of being expresses itself in new plans, new directions, new ways of showing up. Does that make sense? So you take those shifts of beingness and then it moves into action. You're embedding them and then it shows up, or you're planting seeds in your reality from that new energy within you. Okay, so the more you practice those new patterns and behavior, the more solid they become. But the shift happens in your state of being. So it's clearing that out first, and then you'll notice like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that, and it will be a natural byproduct. And then you're like, well, I want to show up different, or something in my business needs to change or pivot. And then that new energy will guide you into the action. So when you get to the point where you are different in a being, energetic level, like who you're being, then you're taking different steps. You're showing up differently. You're having different conversations, okay? And that's what creates a very different reality for you. And when you have a change on that level, at the fundamental level, then life starts to reflect who you truly are on that level that you have become. So new opportunities will happen, new manifestations arise, all of this externally, because you know this, right? So life externally is always a reflection of who you be internally. Yeah, awesome. Awesome, ladies. So happy that you resonate. But this is the energy we're in, right? So however this is playing out for you, if this is resonating for you, I just want to hear, and I would love to hear how this is playing out for you at the moment. Just let me know. And just knowing that it's all part of the preparation, the realignment, the inner restructuring, the inner recollaboration in preparation for what we're calling in. And this is just honoring that space now. Does that make sense? So sometimes you ask for something and you desire something, but before you can receive it, you have to become the person who is in alignment with it. So if you have any delay and any external manifestations happening right now, why isn't it coming, or why isn't anything happening? You have to trust that you are energetically recollaborating, you're catching up, so that you can come into alignment with it, so that you can actually receive it when it comes and hold it as well. So that's the big part of this transformation stuff that we're in, okay? And that recent Scorpio full moon that we just went through, that was such a transformative energy. Scorpio is all about the shadow stuff coming up, right? The death energy, the endings, the releasing of all parts of ourselves. That's all perfect. So that when that actually happened, this is what we're in the energy of at the moment. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's really holding space, really being able to move through that. And that's what you've been doing. That's what we've been doing. So it's supporting each other and having that. Okay, so we may not realize it, but a lot of us are actually different on the inside now. And if you haven't noticed it within you, you'll start noticing it. And when you step out into the world, that's when you'll start. You'll notice that a lot has changed within you without you even realizing, right? So life is a mirror, and it will help you see yourself differently, okay? So any old situations, anything that come up, you'll be like, I don't want this anymore. I'm not in alignment with it. And you'll start shifting out of that. And so pivoting, shifting, changing, all of that's happening. So are any of you really feeling a change of direction for you right now? Are you feeling that this is giving you time to reassess? Maybe you've already shifted. Maybe things have already started to recollaborate for you. So for me personally, I feel like I'm about to go into an even more rapid expansion. Like it's coming, I feel it, it's intense, and I need to hold space for it to come in. And so I'm giving myself space now. I'm not going to be putting out any more things at the moment until I hold that space. So and this is the invitation I want to give to you. Don't jump back to what you were doing. That's fear. Don't do what you were doing before. Hold space without needing to feel it. Okay, you're about to transition in a new direction or in a higher direction in order for you to move forward. But trust that, hold space for it, don't jump, hold space for it and have faith. Okay, like I said before, there may be grief, there may be emotions coming up around the letting go. Anytime we release anything that has our identity attached to it, there's a really big element of grief that comes into play. So you may be grieving a lot around. So I know for me, there's aspects of my business and self that I'm unraveling and grieving, because that's like, I'm no longer doing that way anymore, right? And also unraveling the unhealthy, unresourceful masculine sides of ourselves, right? The push, the strive, the working harder, it's just an old unhealthy pattern, right? Shifting into the more feminine, the magnetic. So it's not finding worth through how many people or money or any of that, right? And that can be a huge part of our identity. And so shifting into more of the feminine, it's the rising of the divine feminine through play and joy and inspiration and magnetism. You can have everything you want, everything that's coming in. This is what's been shown to me, and I've witnessed it and I've experienced it for myself. not doing it in the masculine way anymore. Does that make sense? So really learning the navigation around the masculine and the feminine side of things as well. So really looking at your masculine and your feminine energy within yourself, healing the past wounds, the mother wound, the father wound around that is playing out today. Okay, so there may be abandonment, there may be rejection, there may be betrayal or trust wounds going on. So anything that's unresolved within you, and then recollaborating how you receive love, right? Recollaborating how you are in your energies. And then really much deeper softening into the heart. So for a woman to fully open her heart, she needs to trust the masculine. I'm going to say that again. For us to fully, and us women, I'm speaking to us women, to fully open our hearts, we need to trust the masculine. And so how do we do this? We need to work on trusting our own inner feminine, our intuition. So honoring our feminine intuition and having the courage to speak on her behalf. So you know, any red flags, anything, you're able to speak from that energy, and you work on trusting your own inner masculine to lead you. You trust your guidance on what actions to take, when to show up, and you're devoted to what's important. Okay, so really nurturing that within you, that will help you do that from without you. Okay, so you can create rituals, you can create routines in what is important in your life. You can create a harmonious relationship between your inner feminine and your masculine. That's what needs to shift. So before I mentioned it, and I'll say it again, so we can feel like we're in our feminine, but we've got the masculine mask on, and then we're not revealing the truth of our hearts. And this is where it's like, take off the masculine mask. Okay?